the story of revenge doesn't always unfold in one night. Sometimes it simmers, lingers, and builds until the right moment strikes like lightning. For Lexie Hull of the Indiana Fever, that moment came in the final regular season clash with the Minnesota Lynx, and it was more than just a basketball highlight. It was redemption, it was vindication, and it was personal. Fans still remember the first meeting. Kayla McBride's elbow caught Hull flush in the face. Blood, confusion, and somehow, unbelievably, the officials whistled Hull for the technical. She was left dazed, punished for taking the hit, while McBride walked away untouched. It was the kind of injustice that burned into Fever fans' memory. Clips of the elbow spread online, and the outrage was unanimous. How could a clear foul against Hull end with her penalized? It was insult on top of injury. Fast forward to the rematch, and the script was flipped. This wasn't just another game. This was Indiana, scarred and short-handed, carrying the weight of a brutal season of injuries. Caitlin Clark, done with a groin injury. Sophie Cunningham, MCL tear. Sydney Colson, Chloe Bibby, Ari McDonald, all sidelined. Half the roster in street clothes, and every night felt like survival. By any measure, Indiana should have folded weeks ago, but they didn't. Instead, the Fever kept clawing. They found resilience in unexpected places. Kelsey Mitchell turned into a scoring machine, dropping over 20 points a night while shattering franchise records, surpassing even Tamika Catching's legendary marks. Aaliyah Boston anchored the middle, her rebounding dominance setting a single-season franchise record and stabilizing a defense that could have collapsed without her. Aerial Powers, Odyssey Sims, and other so-called role players became warriors on the floor, playing minutes that weren't supposed to be theirs, hitting shots that weren't supposed to be theirs, and carrying a team that wasn't supposed to survive. The Fever weren't limping into the finish line. They were running full speed into it, and that's what set the stage for Minnesota. The Lynx came in as the league's standard bearer, the top seed, the measuring stick. For Indiana, already playoff-bound but fighting for seeding, this was more than just the end of the calendar. It was a chance to prove they belonged, to prove their climb back from the ashes wasn't a fluke, to prove the fight they had shown all year meant something real. From the opening tip, Indiana showed no fear. A 10-0 run in the first quarter silenced Minnesota's confidence. Kelsey Mitchell carved through the defense like a blur. Aerial Powers reigned in back-to-back threes to gut Minnesota's momentum, and Aaliyah Boston controlled the glass with the steadiness of a veteran twice her age. Even Odyssey Sims, a hardship signing just weeks earlier, chipped in 15 points that felt like daggers in Minnesota's pride. But while the scoreboard told one story, the highlight fans will never forget belonged to Lexie Hull, second quarter. Hull finds herself isolated at the top of the key against Kayla McBride, the very same opponent who'd left her bloodied weeks earlier, the very same opponent she'd been unfairly penalized against. Everyone in Gainbridge Fieldhouse felt the tension. Fans leaned forward, sensing something was coming. Hull dribbled right, hesitated, and with one vicious crossover left McBride lunging at air. McBride's balance disappeared, her ankles buckled, and she stumbled as Hull blew past her. The crowd erupted. Teammates jumped off the bench, arms in the air, as if they too knew this wasn't just a move. It was a moment of pure, unfiltered revenge. Social media exploded. Within minutes, the clip of McBride being dropped spread like wildfire. Indiana fans called it karma. Neutral fans laughed at the irony. To Lexie Hull, it might have been just another possession, but to everyone watching, it was so much more. It was justice for the elbow. Justice for the ridiculous technical. Justice for every bad whistle Indiana has endured this season. Because let's not forget, Hull wasn't supposed to be here. With Sophie Cunningham out, she suddenly had to become the Fever's only true wing. Heavy minutes, massive responsibility, and no margin for error. In the previous matchup against Minnesota, she played nearly 40 minutes and scored 23 points, the best game of her Fever career. She showed she wasn't a placeholder. She was a pillar, and in this rematch, she cemented it. That crossover wasn't just payback. It was the symbol of Indiana's season. A team underestimated, doubted, bloodied, and written off, rising up when it mattered most. By the end of the night, Indiana had handled Minnesota with control, winning 83-72. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't luck. It was a systematic dismantling of the league's best team. The Fever shot nearly 60% in the first half, limited Minnesota to 2 of 20 from beyond the arc, and controlled the pace from start to finish. When the final buzzer sounded, Indiana stood with its third straight win, momentum surging, and history in hand. For the first time since 2015, the Fever finished with a winning record, 24-20. 9 years of frustration, rebuilds and false starts finally broken. And they did it without Caitlin Clark, without Sophie Cunningham, without half their roster. And yet, Clark was still there. On the sidelines, signaling timeouts, calling coverages, shouting instructions like an assistant coach in sneakers. Even out of uniform, her presence loomed over the floor. Fans saw it. Teammates felt it. And it became clear that this wasn't just about surviving 2025. It was about setting the stage for what comes next. That's why Lexie Hull's revenge crossover hit so hard. It wasn't just one player embarrassing another. It was a metaphor for everything Indiana has endured and everything they've become. They took the elbow. They took the blood. They took the losses. They took the injuries. And they turned them all into fuel. Lexie Hull's redemption moment was Indiana's redemption season. Now the Fever head into the playoffs not as a team limping into survival, but as a team armed with momentum, resilience, and the spirit of underdogs who refuse to die. Mitchell is hotter than ever. Boston is anchoring like a franchise cornerstone. The bench is playing with swagger. And Lexie Hull, once dismissed as a role player, just proved she can carry the weight of payback on her shoulders. Indiana has waited 9 long years for this. The pain, the losses, the rebuilds, all of it has led here. And now, they step into the postseason with fire in their eyes and revenge in their blood. So when fans replay that clip of McBride stumbling under Hull's crossover, they'll see more than just ankles breaking. They'll see a story. A story of injustice flipped into redemption. A story of a team written off that refused to quit. A story of revenge, sweet, poetic, unforgettable. The Fever are back. And this is only the beginning. If you're riding with Lexie and the Fever, show her some love in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on screen and we'll see you in the next one.